You still got the black Air Forces, by the way?
I never wore those, but all the guys did. And the funny story about those, man, a lot of those were white. Like they were sold out of the black ones. He hired this guy to paint them black.
Okay, one of my favorite teams in the league right now, the Pittsburgh Steelers. One reason is this Kenny Pickett guy, a guy that I thought I would just absolutely fucking hate after the fake slide. But I love the guy. I love watching him play, and now he's joining the Green Light Pod. What's up, Kenny?
What's up, man? Thanks for having me on.
Dude, thanks for coming on. We met at the Waste Management Open there in Scottsdale, and I thought that was a great time. I had never been before. Are you a golf guy?
I'm just getting into golf a little bit, trying to play, more in my free time, and I wasn't too sure how I was gonna like it either. And it was very unique, and it was cool, man. It was entertaining. It was cool to like meet you, and there's a lot of people walking around, and also like kind of enjoy some good golf and see what good golf looks like up close.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it was cool.
Did you catch the streaker?
I missed them. I
No,
missed them.
man, that was the highlight of the day for me. Obviously, the guy wasn't naked, but he was out there. He had a good run, man. He
I
had a
heard he
good.
made it out to the middle of the pond or something, right? Like he did.
Yeah, he got all the way out to the middle of the pond, but you guys had a really good setup. I was there with Ryan Rosillo and a couple of my buddies, and we wandered over, and there was a booth with you and Jalen Phillips and a couple guys, I guess maybe same
Yeah,
agent or that type of thing.
yeah. Same agent. So they hooked us up with a nice little spot.
Yeah, he's a hell of a player. You don't want to see him in the
No,
backfield.
I'll
So.
avoid him at all
Um,
costs.
what the first thing I want to ask you, because I got a little background on your music taste. We do something here called layup line, where the guest can pick a song to get to set the mood for the interview. Are you a Luke Combs fan?
Yeah, Luke Combs, Morgan Wallen. In the summer, I'm a big country guy in the summer.
Well, you probably get a lot of Morgan Wallen yourself. I've heard
I do.
you get mixed
I
up from
do.
time to time. I used to
Yeah,
get Eric Church.
I see it. I see it.
So yeah, if you're doing a Luke Combs or a Morgan Wallen or maybe a Springsteen, because I heard you're right over the city limits from where the boss is from.
That's
Is
right.
there a song you got in your head right now?
Uh, God, that's a good question. Let's see. I mean, I shotgunned a beer with Luke Combs to one too many, so I'll go with that one.
Okay, one too many. And I hear he's the coolest guy in the world.
Dude, unbelievable. Unbelievable. Down to
Yeah.
earth guy, like really cool. Yeah, the concert was a blast. We had a couple teammates there, and the wives were all there. It was fun.
I thought he did a good job on game day. I don't know if you saw him; you were busy, but I watch
I don't
college
know
game day.
about that one. Yeah, I'm sure he was great.
Yeah, he's an App State guy. So when they got game day, he was down there. But yeah, we like Luke Combs. I'm into so I like Childers and Stapleton and some of the newer country guys. But the new country's not as good as the old country. I don't know if you're into the '90s stuff at all, but that's what I grew up on.
You grew up with an I got now. Who? Give me some names.
George Strait, Diamond Rio, Alan Jackson. You know that '90s country gold, man. Try some
Okay.
of that on for
Does
size.
Chesney fall? Does Chesney fall in that?
I like Chesney a lot. My co-host is a Kenny Chesney fanatic, and actually, we got to meet him. We drove up to Pittsburgh to see him and Eric Church and Chase Rice too. Let me not forget Chase, who's another one of my doppelgangers. But yeah, we kicked it actually after the show with Big Ben and a couple of the guys back there. Got to meet Kenny. So yeah, that was my last time in Pittsburgh. What's it like playing in Pittsburgh? I mean, like, you played your whole college career there. You were almost a Philly guy, from what I understand,
Yeah,
with
man. I
Matt
grew up
Rule.
watching you a little bit, man.
Yeah, the Eagles, man. Yeah, you were an Eagles fan growing up.
I was. So I was got like an hour 15 from Philly. My dad
Yeah,
grew up in Philly a little bit. He spent some time in Philly, so that's where I got it from.
yeah. I can hear the accent. It's
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
but yeah, no, like Pittsburgh seems like one of those sports towns. The reason I love Philly is probably a lot of the same reasons I would love Pittsburgh if I played there. They definitely bleed green. It's a football town. All the sports facilities are within, walking distance. And I love in Pittsburgh, seeing that aerial shot of all those yellow ass stadiums on that river. It's
Yep.
just a beautiful setup. But I know it's a great sports town, and I don't know how much it ramped up for you, going from Pittsburgh to the Steelers, because like people care about obviously Pitt, but it's a whole nother level with the Steelers. Like, were you shocked a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think being having a chance to see it next door and be there for be in the city for 5 years and kind of see how people, um, love the Steelers. Like it's definitely a different level. It's noticeably different on game day and noticeably different just being the quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So incredibly grateful to be here, especially after witnessing it for 5 years.
Yeah, especially since they've only had one for like the longest time, and
Right. Yeah. So
and
he was
now
pretty
there's
good.
a lot of pressure on you guys, because I feel like when I look at your team, I'm like, they're ready to win. And last year it was like, this is a team that's got to learn to win all over again. New guy under center and all that stuff. And you were a big part of winning a lot of those games that I thought kind of make a team grow up. Those fourth quarter comebacks, those big drives, and that game day experience has got to be awesome. Like, are you a big sticks guy? Like when they play the sticks in the stadium, do you get a little hyped up?
I try to stay mellow as I can on game day, which is hard. But with my position, like I've over the years, I found I play my best when I'm just kind of like flatline, almost out there. I real focus on my job and what I have to do, and analyzing like what needs to be done to help us win. But I think that the moment that always gets me is like the intros, the call outs, like
Yeah.
waiting the when you get that there's nothing I can say to like I'm sure you feel the same way. Like that's a different level, so it's special.
No question. And, like I'm curious, you being a guy who likes to stay low key, when you get in those situations, those big wins I talked about that you guys had last year, and those drives that were just a lot of fun, some primetime games, some rivalries. When you were a Pitt, you're the alpha. You're the guy in the huddle who's looking at all his boys and are like, where's Kenny going to take us? And then, you get up in the pros and you're staring back at a bunch of alphas, and they got to trust you. What was that process like, gaining the trust of the leaders on that team? And you got so many great vets there. Was there a moment where you were like, okay, I think they trust me?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know if it was like a moment or just kind of you just kind of feel like I think over time it kind of like sways to where like those last like 4 games of the season, it felt like to me, it felt like I was kind of running the offense and I was getting or on my way to where I wanted to be, and then having those fourth quarter wins, and like those come from behind wins, or those are big moments that kind of validate all the hard work and everything that we were putting into it, to kind of try and get back into that playoff chase. So, I think over those 4 games, I think is where I kind of started to feel that it was becoming like it was like my offense and I was running the show.
I think back to your college career, and I watched a little bit of Pitt because you all always kicked Virginia's ass, and you were a thorn in our sides, man. But a physical group and the whole thing. Like what you added was that element of athleticism, and like I can think back to, I think y'all were playing Miami, and they were supposed to go to the playoff. I don't know if you remember this game, but you guys upset them. You probably had a pretty fun night that night. But I think it's fourth down, and you guys are going to ice it, and you run a boot. And, it's like being able to get you out of the pocket is it's such a weapon for Pittsburgh, and it was for Pitt as well, but not something that they were used to with Big Ben. Big Ben was kind of back there stationary. It was like, if you can get me down, be my guest. But like, you add that athleticism, and I wonder how much you could see that offense kind of morphing into something where they could get the best out of that trait of yours, like through the year. Do you feel like there was a process with which they went about implementing some of those athletic things that you could do?
Yeah, I think there were some things that we could put like scripted, rollouts, bootlegs, whatever it may be. Some design quarterback runs in those big time situations where you can add a blocker with the running back, and there's certain things that way in terms of a run game. But I think also like off script, being able to, if they dial up a drop back and they cover us down, and I can extend and do something on my legs, either buying time to make a throw or buying time and taking off and getting a first down or score a touchdown, whatever it may be. I think it goes twofold with, scripted and non-scripted, and I think it's something that, hopefully can open some, new doors up for our offense.
Do you get excited when you see man? Because you have that trap door.
Two man, man. Two man is the one. When I see that, it's kind of in the back of my mind. I'm always like, listen, if it's covered to any kind of extent where I see that that lane open up, I'm going to take off. And I think we saw it 2 or 3 times. I think it was one against the Dolphins, one against the Saints, and I took off for like 25 against the Saints, and that was the last time I saw it. So
Yeah, yeah. I don't think you're going to be getting a lot of that. And in your division, there's some really good rushers. Like some of them on your team, you're probably pretty glad you don't have to play against TJ and Cam. And let me not forget Highsmith, because I think he doesn't get enough credit at all. I think he was a little bit snubbed for the Pro Bowl. But you look around that division, it probably starts with Myles Garrett, doesn't it?
yeah, outside of our team, yeah, I think he's a tough one. Since he's tough across the board, and I mean, so the Ravens are tough. Like you said, I mean, it's pretty consistent throughout the division of, up front is kind of they're stout on every team. They got some elite players, and just game planning offensively, there's so much that ties into controlling that guy, because if you don't account for him, he could wreck the game. Strip sack or he's forcing bad throw, whatever it may be. Those guys can really sabotage a game plan or ruin a game. So having TJ and going against him in practice and kind of, I think we have a good understanding of certain things we can do to try and slow those guys down. Sometimes we got to stand up one-on-one, but you really don't want to have that be a consistent, factor throughout the game where those guys get a key on when they're going to be one-on-one, because when they turn it on, they're pretty tough.
Yeah, I was wondering, like, what do you think you'd have to set the over-under on times you heard Myles Garrett's name, the week you play Cleveland? Is it 100 or north of 100?
There's a lot, man. We just use numbers, so I'm big on numbers. I hear his number a lot, hear his name a lot. Yeah, it's a lot. Anytime you play, I mean, we played Vegas. Crosby is
Crosby, yeah, because you don't know where he's going to be. Like for some rushers you play, they're going to be 8 yards in the hoop all game, and some guys are going to be spinning inside out. They're going to be in the B gap. They're going to be in the A gap. Crosby's hell.
Yeah, and I think the thing that stands out with him is his motor. He's got a motor. He's got a different. He reminds me of TJ a lot with how hard those guys play. Every single you have to account that you're going to get 110% out of those guys. So I think just in my first year in the league, it was crazy the amount of talented edge guys that I faced.
Are you sitting there during the week and like it's important to you to know like how these guys are getting these guys blocked, so when the one-on-one is, when your clock's got to speed up and that sort of thing? Are you pretty keyed in on that every play?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's things that I've seen. Going against TJ has helped me. Just being able to talk to him and kind of like understand. Like I ask him what alignments make him kind of slow down, what makes him second guess some certain things. So by having that in my head, like and then I take that to the tape, to the film, and I kind of see if the guys on the other team are doing the same thing that he says that he does on certain looks. And when I have that in my head, I'm like, okay, I can get a beat here, or I can buy a half a second here, or whatever it may be. But I mean, some of these guys are so elite, man. They know drop patterns. They know when to rush based off of quick game and drop back, and it's a high level of play when you're going against the best in the world. So there's a lot of things that go into it. But I like our guys up front. When we have that game plan and going into Sunday, I usually feel really confident in what we have.
Yeah, I mean, like I got to ask this question. I usually ask a quarterback this question: what's the hardest you were hit last year?
Oh, Quentin Williams.
Yeah.
Easy answer. Against the Jets, I came in and I think they ran a stunt or something. He came on, got me right under the chin, and I got up like laughing. I was just like, I've never been hit that hard in my life. I've had concussions where it's like I got hit off the ground. My head has hit the ground. Like that's not anyone hitting me. More of just the whiplash of the ground. Just full on like standing in the pocket though. I mean that's a big dude coming at you full speed.
Yeah.
So yeah.
How about your gloves, man? Because people made a big deal about. They were talking about your hands. They were talking about the gloves. Like, first off, did you know you had hands that were going to get, like overanalyzed going in the draft, or was that just a thing that you showed up to the combine and you were like, "Fuck, man, I didn't know."
I knew we had you had like junior day or whatever, but I was such a late round guy. I'm like, shit. I just hope I get drafted. Like, I'm just trying to
Right,
get
you're not
drafted.
thinking about that
I
little
was,
stuff.
yeah, I'm like, dude, if I'm worried about what people say about my hand size, I'm in a good spot because all they talk about is first round guys. They usually don't talk too much about the guys that go undrafted about their hand size or guys that are
Yeah.
late. So me and my dad always joked about it. We're like, you know what? I'll be in a pretty good spot if they're talking about my hands. And
Yeah,
it
I
ended
think
up
I
being,
think it worked out.
it worked out, man. It worked out.
Yeah.
It ended up happening.
What
But
about like
yeah,
did people ask you dumb questions in the interview process about it?
oh man, there's some, and there were some teams that were like, why do you like, I was like, I'm not measuring it until later because I was, doing like exercise to stretch your hands, and that's like, I did gain a little by doing that. And they're like, oh, why do you care so much? Like, we don't care. I'm like, well, you don't, but
Sure.
10 other teams, they care. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I'm trying
Yeah.
to, go as high as I can go. So there were some teams that are like, oh, don't worry about it, man. I'm like, I appreciate that, but there's a couple other teams out there that care a little bit more than others. So you just want to put your best foot forward in that process. You only get to do it once.
Yeah, how about the gloves, man? Because like I'm obviously I can barely throw a football, but like I would imagine there's some pluses and minuses. Are there any minuses to the glove?
The minus is that other people have said to me that I have, like, if you over grip, like if you really squeeze the ball hard and you over grip it, that's when the gloves become, because you just hold on to it too long and guys spike the ball. But when I had the gloves, I just, light grip and spin it like it comes out nice. I haven't had really any problems with it. I started in 2019 doing it. I think I did it one game in 2018 in my college career, and then 2019 I had one Thursday night game. Had a pretty good game, and then my college coach was like, "Hey, let's keep it for another week," and I ended up loving it, playing well. Just felt more comfortable with it.
Yeah, was it Whipple?
Yeah, Coach Whip. Yep.
Yeah, Whipple, he was like, yeah, stay with the gloves. I mean, like, there's been some guys with gloves, like the guy you just succeeded used to wear gloves. Peyton won
Yeah.
a Super Bowl wearing gloves. I mean, I
Yeah.
feel like this is a stigma that's got to go away.
Yeah, I don't know, and I mean, like you said, there's some guys that people, I think, they don't care, they don't realize that they wear it, and then a guy like me coming out of college that wore it a ton, like Teddy wore 'em in college, and I'm sure he was getting lit up for it, but it doesn't really bother me too much because I'm the one throwing it. So
Does it matter if it's hot? Like, you're going to play Tampa in the opener, and as somebody who's gone down to Tampa for the opener, it's like fucking, I mean, dude, just start hydrating now. But like, what does it bother you when it's hot as hell, or do you no difference?
no, no difference really. I mean, there's two different style. Like I'll wear the receiver ones, or I'll wear like
Receivers, yeah.
the weather gloves. Like they're kind of leather. If the ball gets moist, that's really when like those gloves work the best.
Yeah.
So I wear both. Comfortable. We played in Jacksonville in the preseason, and that was hot. We played Miami on Sunday night or Monday night, I think last year. It was so hot for that
I
game
remember
too.
that game. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I've
Yeah.
I- I've worn them in all different kinds of weather, and it worked out pretty well.
We talk about Peyton and the gloves. Like you've crossed paths with Peyton and Eli when it came to the Peyton Manning Passing Academy. What do they do, man? Like I hear all about it. Like you hear about these like D line summits, these O line mastermind summits. But like what's the Passing Academy really about? And is it so different from like because I always notice this quarterback coaches in the NFL, and I'm sure you've got a good one, but they don't pay so much attention to that marriage. And, like you are getting coaching from only one guy. And I feel like there's a ton of ways to play quarterback. Is it nice to be able to go to somebody like that and get a different take? And is like your QB coach okay with that? You know what I mean? Like I know this happened in college, but how does that work?
Yeah. I mean, my coach Whip was really happy that I went there. It's just kind of an experience of being with not like the Mannings, and then being with the other top guys that were in college at the time. Like I love just being able to be on the field with those guys and watch some of the stuff that they did. And like I'm always looking to try and steal something
Yeah.
from something. Like everybody does something really well, whether it be from the pocket or on the move or kind of preparation. Like we had like a every day we had like an hour chalk talk or kind of
Yeah.
Q&A and Eli, and you could pick their brains on how they prepared. And I got my film study and preparation from the Manning camp, actually, from Peyton and Eli. That was really when I started, kind of being real regiment, like with the film and how I study and what I do on each day. Then I got with Coach Whip and kind of really refined it to what I like and how the game plan fits. So there's so many things that you do on the field, and then at night you get to go to dinner and kind of hang out with the rest of the guys and just be, you're around. You feel so comfortable because you're with everyone that's doing the same thing as you. Like you're
Yeah.
all you're all chasing the same dream, and you're all going through the same thing. You're not worried about anything going on because you're with guys that you're comfortable with them, and it's like you've known them for a while, but you just met them because we're all going through the
Yeah.
same things. I think the uniqueness of that and the kind of brotherhood of being a college quarterback, I went twice, and by far one of my favorite football experiences.
What's something that like you were not doing watching film or vice versa that Peyton and Eli kind of righted the ship on?
I think how broad I was watching film before that. Like I was just watching. It's almost like you're just watching film just to watch it.
Yeah.
Like you're watching so many clips and cut, and you're just like. I looked at how simple, and my big thing was like when I went in there, I was like, how do you guys streamline it? Like, there's so much that goes into a game plan. Defenses have so many things. Like, how do you streamline it? And when I saw how regimented it was, and the cut ups, and the third down breakdown, the red zone breakdown, the 2 minute, and all that stuff, and how they made it kind of where they kept like kind of three things in their head, and everything else,
Mm-hmm.
as long as I saw it on tape a couple times, you're like, I'm not going to put too much stock into it. If I see it, I've seen it before on tape, and I'll just go play.
Yeah.
But this is their bread and butter, and I'm ready for the adjustments if they throw that at me. That was my big thing. Like like sophomore year of college, I would go in with so many different things that I would think too much, and having that experience of talking to Peyton and Eli and how to kind of streamline the film study, really helped me.
You think would you want to be on this Netflix special? You seen this Netflix quarterback special? How would you feel with cameras following you around all the time?
I honestly don't know. I think it'd be really cool to, like when you're retired or something, you have kids, and you could put that on and be like, this is what I did. This was my job. This is what went into it. But man, the having cameras around you 24/7, that would be the only thing like where you can kind of just be yourself. Like I don't care what anyone says. If you see a camera around, you're kind of guarded. You're not going to be, your true self.
Yeah.
Um, I don't, I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure. I mean, I would just talk to Peyton and just be like, what would you do? Like, how would you handle it? I don't know how much, I don't know if it was 24/7 or if they're like, hey, we're here for an hour or two today, or I don't know how the filming went, but I would definitely need to get the details on that before saying yes, just because of how much goes in it, how long a season is, and
Yeah.
the ups and downs, and the things that you know for sure that go on.
If you could shadow one quarterback in the league though right now, who would it be for like a week?
That's a really good question. Um, I mean, he's retired, but I'm gonna go Tom because he was there last year. I'd
Yeah.
want to, I'd want to spend a week with him and
Hang out with
see.
Kim Kardashian. No,
uh,
this is a married man, everybody. By the way, congratulations.
thank you, man. I appreciate that.
And you were in People Magazine. The pictures were in People Magazine.
Yeah, yeah, they were in People magazine. Yep, yeah.
How fucking surreal is that? It's good. Getting married early is great. You got a good head of hair. You know the whole thing. Some of my buddies are waiting into their 30s. You know this shit starts creeping back. The pictures aren't as good.
It's good right now. Hopefully, I can keep it.
Yeah. What about Mike Tomlin, man? Like I've always been so he's a Virginia guy. I mean, he's from down at the beach, went to William and Mary. You know, I used to play against Steelers, just always really liked the guy. What is he really about? Like if you could describe him to somebody that's never seen him coach or heard him talk before, what is he about in that building?
Business, man. When he's in the building, he's about business. But when you talk to him one on one, like behind closed doors, he's down to earth, man. Like
Yeah.
he's honest with you. You know where you stand. There's no one that has any questions really about him or his motives or what he's about. He's about winning, and he puts everything into it. Absolutely everything. His breakdowns of teams, his IQ of the game, of defenses, of offensive, of football is the best I've ever been around.
Yeah.
He'll flat out tell us like how a game's going to go. That first team meeting, the breakdown, like if we do X, Y, Z, we'll win. If we don't, we'll lose. And if after a win, he'll pull it up like we did this. That's why we won. If we lost, he'll be like, listen, he lays it out for you very, very clearly. Love playing for him. Great guy to be around. Same guy every day. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's it right there.
How do you piss him off? What's his pet peeve? Because they all got him.
Probably energy. Like if you show up with some juice, play the game how it's supposed to be played. If he doesn't see that, obviously he'll get on some guys.
Yeah, no question. And your leaders, man, I mentioned those earlier. I mean, like you walk into a locker room with all those guys, man. Was there anybody defensively or offensively that kind of took you under the wing more than others? And I know you mentioned TJ, and like how valuable is it to have that veteran group? Because nowadays with the new CBA, there's not as many vets team to team. I mean, it's just a lot of teams are so young. You've had a nice setup there. What's that like?
I got Mason Cole was our center is a guy that I kind of was hip to hip with when I first got here. Even up till now, obviously. Cam Sutton was a defensive guy. Cam Hayward is my locker mate, so he's right next to me. TJ and Minka are two guys around a lot. Levi Wallace was a guy that I sit next to in the team meeting room. Off the top of my head, I would say those were the guys that I really just kind of watched and watched how they went about their business, asked them questions when I needed to. We're young on offense, like you said, so there's a lot of guys that lead their own way. They do it differently. You can always pick up new leadership techniques from different guys, as well as Coach Tomlin. He's a guy that I kind of picked up a lot of new leadership things, and he'll sit down and talk with me about some certain things that he sees on the offensive side now. Now that I'm in year 2 and I'm kind of the guy, on the offensive side that's taken over the leadership role. So it's been by committee where I've been able to kind of learn from different people.
You still got the black Air Forces, by the way?
I never wore those, but all the guys did. And the funny story about those, man, a lot of those were white. Like they were sold out of the black ones. he hired this guy to paint them black.
Damn, dude. He had guys spray painting their Air Force Ones.
Yeah. They were sold out, I guess.
That's beautiful, man. And how about Pickens? I mean, holy shit, man. I mean, like, and I know we haven't seen the half of it because you throw to him every day in practice, and we don't see every acrobatic catch he makes. Like, how good can this guy be?
Yeah, I mean, George could be a top guy in the league. No doubt. Like, there's probably 3 catches in practice that stick out to me that are better than the ones that he had. That everyone saw in the season. His natural ability is like his floor is so high, I guess, just based off of his natural ability. And now we put together a nice route package for him. He continues to work on, his game, and we work on our continuity together. I'm really excited to play with him, going into year 2.
So you got any big goals this year for yourself personally, or, like, are there things that you're like, I'm going to work on this, like I'm going to improve here? I'm sure there are, but like any that you would share?
Yeah. I just want to master our system. Going into a second year, I feel like this spring I took, really command of our offense and what we're doing, and being heavily involved with Coach Canada and Coach Tomlin on what I like, what I don't like, to kind of tailor our offense to the best, to what I do best, what the guys around me do best, and what we want to do, from a schematic standpoint. I really want to master the system and run the show. So that's what I'm working towards.
Yeah, definitely want to get you back on after a big win. I got one last question for you, dude. And this one's going to be a divisive one. What is your Jersey Shore town?
Ocean Township.
Ocean Township. Okay, and that's close to your house, right? So it's like kind of a no-brainer.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm an Ocean City guy. It's a dry town, but it's a nice family town. It's down south. My in-laws have a house there.
Sweet.
So, yeah.
Sure, man. The summers, there's no place better.
It's not bad. This place, Montana's not bad either. The sun goes down at 10:30 at night. It's 83 and sunny, no humidity every day. I'm on a lake. It's not bad, bro.
Not bad. That's not bad.
No,
True.
no. Well, enjoy your summer, dude. We're wishing you the best of luck. Go Steelers, and come back again after you get a big dub. All right, man.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you, man.